Hello, my internet fans. It's me, Statboy Mike, and I would like to welcome you to this week's installment of Throwback Thursday. The Casa D18 Studios Channel continues to sort through the archives of the Jeff Meacham Network, the Simple Man brand, JH95 FTW, NoDQ.com, and the Casa Channel in order to bring you classic content that you may not have seen in a long time, if ever. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's Throwback Thursdays offering. I love you all. Statboy out.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
The Casa D18 Studios, an affiliate of the Jeff Meacham Network, Multiverse of Media, proudly presents this retro content from NoDQ.com.
Welcome, NoDQ Galaxy, to the NoDQ Review. Here we are with another great edition of the NoDQ Review, and I am Virtue with the esteemed panel, and I see Aaron Rift, Jeff Meacham, and once again, TJS, Tyler Joseph Smith. Greg Cherry is very, very busy today, so we let him have the night off. How is everybody doing? I'm going to start with you, Aaron, and then pass the buck.
I'm doing great. It was actually a slow news day, so I took advantage of the situation. I headed out to the coast. It was also very nice on the coast, and Oregon was about 70 degrees, at least in the Portland area. Coast was like 60, but it was still really nice. So I had a good day, and now it's time to get to work. It's a really weird day because I was having fun earlier. Well, I'm still having fun, but now I got to get to work. Now it's all about business.
It's so funny you say it's a slow news day because compared to Wednesday, any day would be a slow news day. It was crazy Wednesday with the two passings and everything. It was a very, very weird day. It's been a weird week in Hollywood, everything with people passing away, but we're good here. We're getting to work, getting things done. Virtue's got the panel going. The review going. I forgot we're not the panel today. And TJS is with us. Tyler, what is up, my friend?
Oh, not much, man. Just been pretty busy with college work, and it's been a good week for wrestling, I'll say.
For the most part.
Yeah, the two superstar shakeups were good, but we'll get to them. We'll get to them.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's get this thing started. And unfortunately, I hate starting this way, but I do want to talk about the passing, and to me, very, very sudden and unexpected, of Bruno Sammartino. Aaron, like you mentioned, I saw you tweet the guy was healthy. I don't know what details have come. He appeared healthy, put it this way. So I didn't even know he was sick. And again, 82 years old in the wrestling business, that's a pretty old guy. But nonetheless, let's talk about our thoughts, reflect. Jeff, I want to start with you because you might have, you're the historian here at NoDQ. When I think of Bruno, I think of Madison Square Garden, and I could care less if people say his sellout record isn't true. Dude, if you almost sold out Madison Square Garden for 180 consecutive times, you're a legend. So the longest champ in the history of pro wrestling, I mean, right?
Yep. Almost 8 full years with one reign. That's, we all can sit here and talk about that we liked Hogan when we were kids, or the Warrior, or Savage, or Cena, or whoever, Austin. Without Bruno Sammartino, nobody is sitting on this video right now. Period. Bruno Sammartino led the WWF to where it was in the 60s and 70s, and allowed Vincent J. McMahon to propel his business into the next century. Because here we are in 2018. Here we sit. Now, I will say, Virtue, that you are correct in me having knowledge that a lot of people didn't know, because I will say this: a friend of mine, who is actually our driver at the Child and Family Center here in Santa Clarita, was acquainted with Bruno. He was friends of his years ago, many years ago, and they've talked on and on. He was actually in and out of the hospital the last couple months, so it was a matter. It was one of those things where it was still sudden, but he was falling ill more quickly than he used to. Now, I will say it was ironic that he passed, because just last week, for my son's birthday, we received one of these in the mail.
Oh, wow.
So it's like here he is. He's sitting right here, and okay. Well, we'll get to meet him, and now it's still signed. Don't get me wrong, but it would be cool to have a 2 Dillon on there for sure. So it's very surreal. I mean, when you think about it, Aaron and I are the same age. Virtue, you're in the category with us as well. One of the major first ladies of our era passed away, Barbara Bush. If you were a fan of sitcoms in the 80s and 90s, you loved Night Court. Harry Anderson passed away. The gentleman from Full Metal Jacket, Gunny, passed away. And then, also with Bruno's death, we had Paul Jones. Yeah. So it's been a very rough week for famous people, I guess.
Some San Antonio fans said the Spurs head coach, Greg Popovich, his wife passed away yesterday, too.
Exactly. So it's just, it's a rough sports entertainment week for sure. And I will just say that I was fortunate enough to get to know of Bruno's history now that he was in the Hall of Fame the last 5 years and we got to see more of his stuff. I am grateful to Triple H for bringing him back into the fold and allowing his legacy to be what it has become the last 5 years, rather than as the guy that went on Donahue and trashed Vince.
That's
so
true. Yeah.
God bless. People crap on Triple H, but let's keep it real. Tyler?
Well, before there was Hulk Hogan, before there was John Cena, before there was The Rock and Austin, before there was Roman Reigns, there was Bruno. He was truly a pioneer of the wrestling business. Like you guys said, longest reigning champion in wrestling, period. Longest reigning WWF champion, or maybe it was WWE. Or it wasn't WWE at that point, but what was it? 7 years that he was champion?
Almost 8, from May of '63 until January of '71.
When did he lose the title, Jeff?
January 18th, 1971 to Ivan Koloff in what was the first major air sucked out of the Garden, because nobody could believe that Bruno had lost. And then, of course, he got it back 2 years later, a few years later after the reign of Pedro Morales had gone away, and then he reigned for another 4 years. So, 4,040 days. Nobody's going to touch that ever. There's no way.
Unprecedented. And he was the second ever WWF champion. Yep. And all the time he would sell out Madison Square Garden. It's just a record number. I'm not sure the exact number. I think it's over 100 for sure. This guy, he was just a true pioneer. 2013 Hall of Famer. And I was really happy to see him go in. Aaron, what are your thoughts on the passing?
Well, yeah, I was a bit shocked, of course. And like Jeff said, he was in the hospital for a couple of months. So something was going on. And it just goes to show, no matter how hard you train and how well you take care of yourself, nothing is a guarantee, unfortunately. There are people that can be chain smokers all their life and live to 95, 100 years old. So nothing's a guarantee. But, I mean, what a life he lived. He was one of the true tough guys in wrestling. He had the credibility. He was tough as nails and just had a lot of great matches and a lot of great feuds with guys like Ivan Koloff and superstar Billy Graham. And some of those matches are on the WWE Network. They actually have a Bruno Sammartino collection for anybody out there that's curious about it. Definitely worth checking out. It is a different style from today, but still, like you guys said, without Bruno, there's no Hulk Hogan, there's no Steve Austin, and there's no NoDQ.com. So
there's no DQ without Bruno. Yep,
absolutely.
Yep, and with Bruno, that's when a lot of people thought wrestling to be a sport. That was before the entertainment era. Yeah. Yep. So nonetheless, rest in peace. And it sucks. This type of stuff sucks. So I got to be careful with my segue here on some of our topics. So we're going to go to the Superstar Shakeup right now.
Sounds good to me.
All right, and so Raw obviously got some more talent, but I think, personally, SmackDown won from the talent pool. Now, we know in the past when SmackDown looked like they had a really good roster, it seems like it lasts for so long, and then all of a sudden something happens and a bunch of people go back to Raw. So let's start with Raw first. I'm going to bring up Owens and Zayn. So we knew they were going to go there because they got fired from SmackDown. I find it interesting that Michael Cole's such an idiot that he said, they were fired from WWE. Look, in sports, if you want to act like wrestling is a sport, free agents, somebody could leave a team and another team can pick them up after they clear waivers. So Michael Cole, I think Coachman actually slapped him silly verbally, so to speak. I don't know if anybody caught that on Raw, but Cole was like, no, there's no way these guys can be here. Come on. So let's start with Owens and Zayn, and we're going to bring Jinder. We'll do these in bunches. I was kind of shocked to see Jinder jump ship and then defend the U.S. title right away to Jeff. Now it all makes sense. So, Aaron, I want to start with you. Owen Zayn, fresh start on Raw, and Jinder Mahal. We know that's your boy.
Oh, yeah, that's my boy, all right. Owens and Zayn, I think, is definitely the biggest plus for Raw, and I think it does make sense with Stephanie McMahon overruling Kurt Angle. That aspect of it I liked, and I mentioned this on No DQ Live. I loved the segment with Owens, Zayn, and The Miz when they were all jumping up and down, hugging each other. That was fantastic. I'm so sad that group has been split up already, but maybe we'll see Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas form a faction with Owens and Zayn. That might be fun and keep that going because I think there's some potential there. Those guys all seem to have the chemistry, and I miss a really strong heel faction in WWE. So I'm hopeful that Owens and Zayn can maybe start some sort of super group in WWE and run roughshod over the guys like Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman. I mean, with Braun Strowman, you need a strong group against him. So I think that might be the answer to that. And Jinder Mahal, I feel like Jinder Mahal is just going to go into the mid-card. He's going to be in mid-card hell at best. And if things don't work out for him, he can always reform 3MB now with Heath Slater and Drew McIntyre. So, yeah, Jeff, you're shaking your head. Your thoughts on Jinder Mahal?
First of all, they had McIntyre come in with Ziggler. It's not going to happen 3MB. I'd love to see it just for the heck of it, for fun, but I don't think it's going to be a long-term thing. I kind of disagree with you on Jinder Mahal, Aaron. I think they're gonna give him a shot here because he got to carry the proverbial ball. Yes, we all hated him as WWE champion. Yes, he won the U.S. title, and we were miffed about that at WrestleMania. But the fact is, he's getting a rematch at the Greatest Royal Rumble, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, at a later date. And he may just win the thing back, and really, and maybe we'll see him carry that, or maybe like you said, maybe he'll go into mid-card hell. I'd like to see them do something just to, just prove us wrong. Prove us wrong and say, well, we're going to give Jinder a shot here. Probably not going to happen, but, here's the thing. Anything can happen in WWE, like they always said. As far as Owens and Zayn, I love they got a shot. I don't so much love the whole, this is my revenge to Kurt Angle for beating us at WrestleMania. Here's Owens and Zayn to deal with. It's like that seems almost like they couldn't find anything better to write it in. So here's this little nugget. Here we go. Let's just do this so I'm still here. I'm the commissioner. Look at me. It's like, well, you're not there, Stephanie. And neither you, Hunter. You're off TV again after Mania because you lost again. So just stay away. But it's cool they're back. I'm happy they're back. I love to see Aaron Brand said it's a good point. I like to see them kind of maybe make Axel and Dallas their lackeys. That'd be fun to watch.
Yeah, keep them busy. What do you think, Tyler?
Yep.
Well, I actually agree with Jeff on the whole Stephanie overruling Kurt thing, because explain to me this. Owens and Zayn got fired because they beat up Shane McMahon, and Shane McMahon was upset with them because they beat up Vince McMahon. So why would Stephanie be like, okay, sure, you beat up my dad. Come on, join the roster, guys. I don't get that, but nonetheless, I think Owens and Zayn are a tremendous addition to Raw. They, like Aaron said, they had excellent chemistry with the Miz, Taraj, and the Miz, and I just love this whole Yep movement thing they have going. The way that Sami Zayn read that email was just tremendous because he reminds me a lot of Enzo. He's like the guy that you just want to punch in the face because he's annoying you. He's hyper. It's like he's had so much coffee. And, when they were jumping up and down, it was just great. And I'm hoping that they join the tag division because I'd like to see them as a full-fledged tag team. I know that they're great as singles guys, but I'd really like to see them be tag champs at one point. And as far as Jinder goes, I mean, how could anyone say SmackDown lost the shakeup? They got rid of Jinder.
Yep.
That's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not sure where he's going to go. I mean, he just lost the U.S. title to Jeff Hardy, and maybe it won't be Roman that beats Brock, but it'll be Jinder. Who knows?
I think Jinder Mahal is going to be my Virtue's Roman Reigns. I'm going to fall my sword for that guy, I swear, because I'm the only one who doesn't care. I like the guy.
For some reason, too, because I've changed I've even retracted on Cena, and now I support Cena.
Exactly.
It's something about, and look, I'm not trying to be the guy that likes what WWE force feeds, but it's like, give WWE a chance to make these guys something, because who says that the guys they feud against won't become some of your all-time favorites? And it takes two to tango. And I'm looking at Jinder the same way as you are, Jeff. Now, I think he came to Raw simply for fodder, something to do for Roman Reigns on Raw as like an upper mid-card, and Braun Strowman, because he is that heel that you like to see get beat up. And Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman are guys that need to have somebody like that to beat up. So to me, Jinder going Raw made perfect sense. Now, before I go on, did you have something else to say, Jeff?
I did.
Yes, you did.
Of course I did. You mentioned you mentioned Jinder Mahal going to build the other guys up. Think about The Rock. When he turned heel in 97, nobody gave him a chance. They just crapped on him. They put him with Steve Austin, who's the biggest star in the company, and boom, he takes off.
Yeah, well, if they do something different with Jinder, that might work.
Right.
But if he keeps doing the same thing he's been doing with Samir Singh interfering in all of his matches and Jinder just plays the stereotypical foreign heel, then I feel it's going to have a very limited shelf life and he's going to be at a certain level and that's it.
I never agree with that. The
Don't
whole
hinder gender based on the creative writing,
Well, unfortunately, the whole heel, the foreign heel played out, when Sergeant Slaughter turned heel in 1990. So ever since then, it's been like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
So.
And I agree with you, TJS. I think Zayn and Owens should be a tag team. I can see the Woken Warriors winning those tag titles, especially now that Cesaro and Sheamus are on SmackDown. Them being the tag champs, that would be a perfect opportunity. I'd love to see that feud with Zayn and Owens against the Broken Universe. That'd be great. That's sports entertainment. Give me some of that. So, all right, there's a lot of – I'm not going to talk about everybody. Obviously, there's jobbers that came to Raw. Breezango, Mojo Rawley, Mike Kanellis, he's just basically been nothing yet. I think he had some demons and injuries to take care of first. Ascension, Zack Ryder. Okay, they're all on Raw. Let's look at the women. The Riot Squad come over, all three of them, and Natty. Natty, Jeff, I want to start with you on this. This is interesting because they're making her buddy-buddy with Rousey. Is this going exactly like I think this is going to go? Explain your thoughts on Riot Squad and Natty, especially being friends with Rousey.
It's very hard to decipher. I mean, you think about it, they needed to have something with Absolution to have them be written off, and they basically had Ronda write them off by beating them up. And now they're on SmackDown, which we'll get to, I'm sure, momentarily. But, Natty's going to need help if she's on Raw because, the primary women on Raw now are Sasha and Bayley, who are kind of an island to themselves as far as feuding goes. And then you've got the Riot Squad now, who are a three-person team. So they have to have somebody with Natty so she's not completely just gobbled up. And I think I honestly love Natty, and we all know I love Natty. I've talked about her from the beginning, and she's my 1A besides Charlotte. But I think they're giving Natty something to do and giving Ronda something to do to kind of pass the time until they get something better for Ronda to do. And right now, that's protecting Natty.
Now, Tyler, I'll pass it to you. Don't you think that maybe they're going to have Natty work closely with Ronda and then do that? Hey, we're friends, and then Natty turns so they can that could be Ronda's first true pay-per-view match against a worker. I mean, Stephanie, no disrespect, but I think I could see one match at least on a pay-per-view with Rousey and Natty because Natty can carry her. TJS?
Yep, I agree completely with that. I think Natty is a great first person to work with, like you said. If you watch the NXT matches she had with Charlotte Flair, tremendous stuff. And I think that Natty was really overshadowed on SmackDown by Naomi and Becky and, the other women there. So I think eventually we're going to see Natty versus Ronda. I think it's interesting that they are doing this because I kind of was expecting Ronda to be a part-timer, but no. I mean, when they said full-time, I guess they meant it because she's been showing up at every Raw. So, and she's booked for the European tour, so that's interesting. And I'm guessing that we're going to see that match at SummerSlam. As far as the Riot Squad moving over, I expected it, honestly. Not sure that they're going to do very much, but we'll see what happens. Aaron, what do you think?
Riot Squad don't care. They're just basically going to get beat up by Ronda Rousey, most likely. And I've said this before. I think Ruby Riott needs new music. I really don't like that music for a heel character. I don't think.
Who has the worst music, Aaron? Ronda or Riot Squad?
I don't mind Ronda's song. I mean, Ronda's song is from.
That's Joan Jett, isn't it?
That's what she used in UFC, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But
don't disrespect the '80s. That was that was my decade.
See, I don't mind it. I know a lot of people don't like her using that song. I think that's fine. I like using the classic songs for entrance themes. I just think Ruby Riott needs a new song. Natalya being on Raw is great. I think that her and Ronda will have a solid feud, and Ronda Rousey was trained mostly by Natalya last year, so they are very familiar with each other, and I think that they'll have a really good, solid singles match. I'm looking forward to it. Whether it happens at SummerSlam or if it happens at Backlash, that remains to be seen. But I would think that WWE would spread it out a little bit and not have Ronda appear at every single show. I think she should be more like Brock Lesnar when it comes to her schedule, where she comes in and does maybe 5 or 6 pay-per-views out of the year. I don't think she should do something as soon as Backlash. I think that they should slowly build it up. Maybe they'll do another tag match with Ronda and Natalya and then split them up and do a singles match at SummerSlam. That's how I think it should go. What do you think, Virtue?
Wouldn't that be something if Ronda was in the Money in the Bank match? Anyway,
there you go.
We're gonna be there.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Jeff. The Riot Squad and Absolution, no difference, So it made sense why they did that, because Paige is now the GM on SmackDown, and maybe they can still use her music. So like Aaron said, I don't care about the Riot Squad. It's just more heels to, do chicken crap heel stuff and powder out. That's
I was going to say, when you think about it, the baby faces on Raw, Bayley or Sasha go babyface to heel week to week. You never know where the hell either one of them's going to be at this point. And then you have the Riot Squad, who are definitive heels, and then the baby faces right now is Natty and, of course, Ronda. So, they have to balance out the show. In theory, they have to. But, Vince never won for, in theory, anything. So,
And I like the whole mentoring thing, so I'm interested to see, even if it's just small clips on Raw the next couple months with Natty and Ronda. I'm really anxious to see that. So good for Natty to get more publicity as a wrestler being paired with Ronda. All right, so the next chunks I'm looking at key points of interest here. Baron Corbin, Chad Gable, and Bobby Roode. Those are the 3 I want to talk about next. Aaron, I'll start with you. Any thoughts on Corbin, Gable, and Roode, and will any of them make an impact on Raw? See how I did that?
I see how you did that. Bobby Roode, I think, should turn heel. I think the time is now to turn him, now that he's on Raw. I feel like he needs that shake-up. It seems like the glorious chant is starting to fizzle out. I think it's time to do something different with him and give him that heel run. As far as Chad Gable goes, I could see him possibly reuniting with Jason Jordan. Other than that, I have no idea what Chad Gable is going to do. I think he's going to get lost in the shuffle very quickly unless he teams up with Jordan again. Maybe he ends up on 205 Live. Who knows? Baron Corbin. Now, Baron Corbin, I think, will get the Roman Reigns feud. I think that's more likely than Jinder Mahal getting it. I think Baron Corbin will initially get a push, and he'll be feuding with the likes of Roman Reigns and maybe Braun Strowman. Remember, Royal Rumble 2017, wasn't it Baron Corbin that eliminated Braun Strowman? Correct me if I'm wrong on that. So I could definitely see that as the next big feud for Strowman versus Corbin. Jeff, what do you think?
I love that Baron Corbin's on the, if you want to call it the A show, but it is Monday night. It is Raw is the flagship show of WWE, because we love Baron Corbin in this house. That's my son's favorite wrestler. We like Baron. People are crap on me for liking Baron, but I like him. Chad Gable is interesting because I think he would have been better off permanently on 205. I don't know how much he weighs. Like, does anybody know his weight off the top of their head? But
206.
Right. Yeah. So it may have worked, but I think he's too bulky to be a cruiserweight. But maybe he'll get a chance on Raw. The fact of the matter is, both of his tag teams are broken up. But maybe when Jason Jordan comes back from injury, they'll put American Alpha back together. Let's hope for Chad Gable's sake that's the case. As far as Bobby Roode, I think the only person that still chants the Glorious song every single week when he comes out is me, because I sing that song at the house. I drive my family crazy. But I noticed at SmackDown, we were there in February, Don and I noticed it wasn't as loud as it was at the NXT show when we went in the end of 2016. Yeah. So, like Aaron said, it is tapering off slow but sure. I think if they turn him heel now or close to now, it'll be really awesome to see him go, maybe for the Intercontinental title, maybe have him and Rollins feud. That'd be an awesome feud. I'd love to see those two guys go. So yeah, I agree with Aaron's points pretty much. Again, Chad Gable, he needs a partner. He's not the standalone guy.
Right.
You know what I think, Jeff? I think Chad Gable's going to be there, and then, like you said, if Jordan comes back and they really didn't like the direction of Angle's son, put them back together, because guess who else is still on Raw? What's that other tag team they've done crap with, but they had a great
Revival, yep.
So I'm going to pass this off to you now, TJS. Thoughts on Corbin, Rude, and Gable? And do you like Gable just kind of being there for the reunification of American Alpha, just in case?
I don't understand why everyone doesn't love Chad Gable, because this guy is great. If you saw his matches with Rusev and Kevin Owens, this guy is just awesome. And his NXT matches with American Alpha, the Revival, DIY, it was just incredible. And I think a lot of people have been sleeping on Chad Gable, and I don't know why, because this guy is just awesome. I think that he can be a single star or a tag team, but if it was up to me, I'd definitely pair him back up with Jordan, because American Alpha was my favorite tag team when they were together. They were just so fluent and smooth in the ring. Loved it. And Jordan really doesn't have the charisma of Gable, and Gable doesn't really have the power of Jordan, so they mesh well together. As far as Corbin goes, I think he's going to do big stuff on Raw. I think, he's the big, tall guy that Vince loves. He's like 6'8". I could see him feuding with Braun, like you guys said. I'd love to see Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin. I think that would be great. And as far as Bobby Roode goes, a heel turn is so long overdue with this guy. Ever since he came to SmackDown after, the Raw or the SmackDown after Mania last year, I just want him to turn heel, because I think the Glorious thing is played out. Because he's been doing it for so long in NXT as a heel, I just got bored of it. So I think that Rude should be the one coming out to no music and not Ziggler. I think that would draw tremendous heat, because they'd want to do the Glorious thing. And I think before he goes for the Glorious DDT, when he's building up for the Glorious, to just stop, kick the guy in the gut, and then do the DDT. That'll get him heat. I think it'd be great. What do you think, Virtue?
All right, so to me, when I don't know, for some reason, Corbin being on Raw, I see him mixing it up with like Rollins and Balor. I don't know why. I don't know why. That Intercontinental title stuff. As for Gable, I just said what I think that they should do with him. Rude is the interesting one here for me. I can see, and it's going to segue into talking about the last two guys in Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre. I don't know why I could see this becoming more of a super group on Raw, a faction, a stable, which we really don't have these days in WWE. And I could see Rude turning heel and joining them, and everyone's like, what? McIntyre, Ziggler, and Rude together? What's going on? And again, this is just me being wishful thinking, and maybe if I was a WWE writer, I'd pitch an idea like that, because we have 3 hours every week of Raw. Give us something interesting. So who knows? For all we know, it could be Rude feuding against Rollins and Balor, the Intercontinental title. We don't know. But that's why they call it the shakeup. So, Aaron, I'll start with you. Last thoughts. I didn't know if you did you bring it up, Jeff, on Ziggler and McIntyre? Okay, so Aaron and TGS, what's your thoughts on Ziggler and McIntyre? I thought that was the big gain for Raw, both of them, because they're together.
Maybe.
Aaron, do you want to go? Oh, yeah, you go.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's some potential with those guys. It definitely gave me a Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash vibe, the two of them together.
So you said maybe, but yeah, you compared them to, you did that vibe about Diesel and HBK. So explain to me. Well, explain to the NoDQ Galaxy.
I think there's big shoes to fill, because Kevin Nash and Shawn Michaels had a lot of charisma as a team. Drew McIntyre is a very good wrestler, and so is Ziggler, but both of them have really struggled, especially Ziggler in recent years. McIntyre just came back and has a little bit of momentum coming off of NXT until he got hurt. So we'll see if the pairing of them can get them to the next level or not. Maybe set a fire in Ziggler's ass, and he'll
What has Ziggler struggled at? I know people are watching this video right now wondering, what, besides booking, this guy goes out and gives everything in the ring. Yeah. What is he struggling at then?
That's a great question. Jeff, you want to take this?
He's struggling with the writers trying to find something for him to do, because he's one of those guys where he's so talented. He would have been great in Bruno's era had it been smaller guys, because he doesn't need a whole lot of storyline nonsense behind him. He's just good in the ring. He thinks he's this generation Shawn Michaels. As far as in-ring work, it's hard to argue with that. But
Is that the problem? Is that the problem? Is that rubbing people the wrong way?
Well, I'm sure it is. I'm sure him comparing himself to Shawn Michaels at every turn is not catering favor with anybody in the locker room or in the office, for that matter. But again, that's just me assuming. I'm guessing. What do I know? But I think that Dolph Ziggler is one of the most talented, if not the most talented guy I've seen. Since he came in as Dolph Ziggler, and they've built him and they've built him up, and now he kind of hit that peak when he cashed in Money in the Bank. That was the loudest pop I've ever heard on the Raw after Mania in my life, when he cashed in on Alberto and won the World Championship. And he hasn't done a whole lot since then.
Yeah, well, remember Survivor Series 2014? He had that big win where he was the sole survivor, and then that went nowhere too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He had that big win. He defied the authority. Sting, of all people, helped him defeat the authority once and for all, and then they brought him back, and it was useless.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, Dolph has been elevated, and then, never mind, we don't want you anymore, and then it happens over and over again. It's got to be frustrating for him.
Does one of you own a bird, by the way?
I don't.
Not me.
Virtue? You're smiling.
No.
You know what, Aaron? My window back here is open. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. The birds. Sorry about that.
Okay, that's okay.
Follow the buzzards.
If it was buzzards, it'd be funnier.
All right. Well, we're going to pass it on. So we're going to pass it on to Bray. Bray, what are your thoughts on Ziggler and Drew McIntyre?
God, I cannot unsee this.
Well, I'll tell you the problem. The problem with Dolph Ziggler is he needs to evolve. That's the same problem Randy Orton has. He's been coming out to the same music for the better part of a decade. It's just, I'm tired of. He's had the same hair. He dyed it once, got it cut. He was with Vicky Guerrero. Didn't make much of a difference. He's been using the same moves. He started using the super kick. Whatever. I mean, that's not helping his case as far as people, crapping on him because he's comparing himself to HBK. It's not doing him any favors. And this whole record scratch thing, drop it. Why? Why is he? I don't understand. I just don't get it. Because the music still plays. Yeah. I don't get it. And the guy's not really getting. No one cares about him. That's the problem. He's not getting any heat. And the guy is so good. He's talented. Like Jeff said, he's great. But the problem is the way that he's been booked. And it doesn't help when he goes on Twitter and says that he's been held down or whatever. That just makes him look unprofessional. So if I was Dolph Ziggler, I'd be ready, just change things up. When he relinquished the title a couple months back, he should have been kept off TV and he should have won the Rumble. I mean, in retrospect, maybe not. But if they were going to do that whole disappearing angle, they should have had him win the Rumble instead of just entering 30 and getting eliminated almost immediately. Ridiculous. As far as this Drew McIntyre thing goes, I'm personally not a huge fan of Drew. But maybe the two of them together will be good. I think it's going to elevate Dolph more than it is Drew, personally. Because it keeps Dolph relevant instead of just being the guy to put over younger talent. So that's just my thought.
Well, and they need great writing, and I'm going to give everybody fantasy booking virtue 101 right here. So what do you do with a Ziggler and a Drew McIntyre, putting them together like this on Raw? For something over the summer, advertise D-Generation X. For whatever reason, I don't know if they have a show in Texas coming up, but advertise DX, Shawn and Triple H. Hype it out a week, 2 weeks ahead of time. That night when it happens, the music hits. But who walks through that curtain? It's Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre mocking D-Generation X. You want to give them some heat. You got players. Right for these players, and I'm sure we're going to be talking about that big time now on SmackDown, because that's been SmackDown's problem. You have talent, but you don't write to its ceiling. So here's the big three. Samoa Joe is now on SmackDown. We knew about The Miz, which I found it interesting that he was not there. And then Jeff Hardy brings the U.S. title back over. So what is everybody's thoughts on Samoa Joe, Miz, and Jeff Hardy now being on SmackDown? TGS, I will start with you. And were you upset that The Miz was technically not on SmackDown? It was a pre-tape.
Well, I actually heard that most of the Raw roster was going somewhere to do some shows overseas. Yeah. I don't know how true that is, but maybe The Miz was advertised for those shows, and maybe that's where he was. So, I mean, maybe if he was going to be on SmackDown, he shouldn't have gone to those shows. I don't know. I think that saving his return for next week gives us a little bit of a hook to tune in, So I'm okay with it, I guess. I mean, he got booed when he said that he wasn't going to be there. So, I mean, I think we all expect him to run in on the main event, and he didn't. So, I mean, I guess I'm okay with it.
Well,
And
Tyler, you know what I think there with The Miz? He got the crap kicked out of him and embarrassed again on Raw. So maybe they kept him off TV for a week because WWE's philosophy, everybody forgets, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was silly the way they wrote him off Raw. But all right, go ahead. I had to mention it.
Well, you know, as far as Samoa Joe goes, huge pick for SmackDown. Just imagine the matches: Joe versus AJ, Joe versus Daniel Bryan, Joe versus Nakamura. It's going to be good. I think this guy is going to go far on SmackDown, and I think that he's going to be WWE champion probably by the end of the summer. That's a bold prediction I'm making right here. And I loved his squash match with Sin Cara. Joe is so underrated on the mic. Incredible stuff. And the other one that moved over to SmackDown was Jeff Hardy. No surprise for me. I expected it. I'm glad that they split him and Matt up. I really didn't want to see the whole Brother Nero thing. I think Jeff is better being Jeff because he's more marketable than Matt was before this whole broken thing. So I think it's good that they split him.
Well, yeah, Aaron, Bray, because you have Jeff's spot now with Matt. I get it.
That's right. We're winning the tag championships a week from tomorrow, Greatest Royal Rumble. So it's going to be good stuff, man. Yeah, Aaron, what do you think?
I think you made some very awesome points there that I pretty much agree with you on 100%. Samoa Joe has been on fire with his promo work, and I feel like he can be the top heel on SmackDown if given the opportunity. And I think he will be given the opportunity. I think Joe's going to be one of the top stars. This is going to be his breakout year unless he gets hurt. Hopefully that doesn't happen. He's had those 2 injuries that have set him back. As long as he doesn't get hurt again, I think this is going to be a huge year for Joe, and he could potentially, like you said, maybe win the WWE title later this year. As far as The Miz goes, I'm cool with his return being saved for next week. There was already plenty of things happening on this week's SmackDown. Give us something next week to look forward to and make The Miz the centerpiece of next week's show. I think it's a good move. And the third person, Jeff Hardy, I like it too. I think it makes sense with the momentum that Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy have as a team. They really don't need Jeff at this point. And like you said, TJS, Jeff is very marketable as himself, and he could potentially be one of the top baby faces. And think about this, Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles in the WWE ring. That's another possibility. And Jeff Hardy versus Samoa Joe. There's a lot of interesting matchups on SmackDown, which is why I definitely feel that SmackDown won this whole thing. Jeff, your thoughts?
I think SmackDown getting The Miz back is good because of the Daniel Bryan feud, no question about that. I think SmackDown getting Samoa Joe is the biggest pick of the year. For the Superstar Shakeup, there is no question about that. Aaron, you mentioned him against AJ, him against somebody mentioned Joe and Bryan. I think it was Tyler.
Yeah.
Aaron and I saw those matches back in the day. We saw Bryan and AJ. We saw Joe and Bryan. We saw Joe and AJ. So seeing those again, they'd be like, "Yeah, we get to see these again." But on a WWE stage, seeing those 3 guys who have been arguably the best 3, along with Christopher Daniels when he was in TNA as well. Those 4 guys have been, the best in-ring workers not signed with WWE at the time. Now they're all under the WWE umbrella, and and Nakamura's there too. They're all on SmackDown now. Holy crap. We're going to have an unbelievable blue brand, and I think they're really going to start. It's funny. I was rewatching the Paul Heyman documentary, and he mentioned that SmackDown was the only show besides Nitro to beat Raw at everything, including writing. Can you imagine if they actually got their writing team's head out of their proverbial butts and wrote for Joe and AJ and Bryan and Mitt and all these guys that are there now? Holy crud, would they be awesome?
Absolutely.
Yep. Well, and think about Jeff Hardy, the way he came out on SmackDown, he interrupted Orton's entrance, and then Orton just walked away. See, I like continuity. So you know what I want to see next week on SmackDown? I want to see Orton, whether he turns heel or he's just Randy Orton, RKO out of nowhere, do something to Jeff Hardy for taking your spotlight. And again, is the writing team going to see these things? Aaron, as you mentioned, I want to see The Miz be featured on an entire episode, talking trash, talking down to Daniel Bryan. There's just so much. And then, of course, all the matches you guys mentioned with Joe. I still think Joe has some very good heated promos, but I don't until he's officially paired up against somebody and he doesn't, switch brands because he had the thing going with Roman and then he switches brands. I'm not going to buy into him being this great promo guy yet, but I am going to give him the benefit of the doubt. He delivers them with passion. I have a thing where like AJ is guilty of this too, where they say you see, but Aaron and I were talking about that. I go we all have those comfort words.
Yeah.
The true professionals though, they got to learn to not do them. But anyway, Jeff, did you have another thought?
Well, I was going to say, mine is now. See, here's the thing. That's my go-to.
Yeah,
it's on a shirt for Christ's sakes.
And they got big bright lights on them. I'm sure it's a hell of a lot harder.
Exactly. People seem to forget. I don't know if anybody in this room will remember, but Jeff Hardy and Orton had a feud of the title about almost 10 years ago now. So actually 10 years ago now, because Orton was the champion in 2007 and Jeff was his feud going into the Rumble that year.
Yeah.
So it has happened. Will the Ryan team remember that? Of course not, because they want us to forget.
Right.
But it'd be cool to see, like you said, Virtue, Orton come out and go, really, you're gonna interrupt me? Boom. Good night.
Well, that's what I would expect to happen. I would expect Randy Orton to turn heel, which is something that he's been wanting to do for a long time. I think that's definitely the right direction for that. I just said again. You know what? I do
it's
like
all
it.
Good,
I do like it because it makes the whole segment feel a little bit more authentic. If they are too perfect with their lines, then it feels very scripted. I like when they throw in the ums and gives it a little bit more of a realistic vibe to it. Just my take on it.
Nice spin. TJS, I wasn't paying attention. Yes, I was. Any more thoughts on this? And if not, I want you to bring up the next couple of guys or gals from this SmackDown Superstar shakeup. So,
I just want to talk about Big Cass really quick. I personally think, I loved the backstage segment with Daniel Bryan. Thought it was awesome because, they say that wrestling is like the land of the giants. So you have this 7-foot-tall Big Cass saying, "You're what all the fuss is about, little man? You?" So I think that Big Cass and The Miz should be paired up. And what's the big feud right now? They want Daniel Bryan and The Miz to wrestle. I think The Miz should say, you have to go through Big Cass first. And then, have Daniel Bryan have some matches with Cass. And then, and then have Miz agree to face Bryan. But instead of Miz facing Bryan, have Big Cass come out there again and beat up Daniel. And then once Daniel finally gets his hands on The Miz, you can make that a SummerSlam match. Drag it out. Really and the audience want that. And then once Daniel finally gets to get his hands on The Miz, huge pop. Could even be one of the main events of SummerSlam. I think it would be great. Another name, moving to second, that I'd like to talk about is The Bar. I think it's good that they moved over. On Raw, they were looking terrible. They lost to the 10-year-old kid, and then they lost to Breezango, which I know. I have no.
But hey, switching brands, it didn't happen, right? I mean, that's probably WWE's philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, the continuity just doesn't exist in WWE, unfortunately. But I think The Bar switching over is going to be good for them. We could have matches with the Usos, New Day and Bar. You could say they have unfinished business because they did end the record-setting reign, but that probably didn't happen because it's WWE. And another name that I'd like to bring up, or two names that came over, Anderson and Gallows. I think it's interesting that they split them up with Balor, because I feel like the Balor Club really never got out of first gear. I think they could have had some more mileage with that, but they are on the same brand as AJ. Hopefully this rejuvenates them a little bit. We'll see what happens. Jeff, what do you think? The Bar, Anderson and Gallows, and Big Cass.
Looks to me like the tag team division on SmackDown is heating up real quick. Yep. You got two of the best tag teams in recent memory. And by the way, Corey Graves, Balor Club. Okay, just saying. But you know what? I'll throw it up. What the hell? Oh, excuse me. One Sweet. We gotta do One Sweet now. I forgot. We'll get sued by that. I like Big Cass coming back. I like Big Cass being involved. I think that he was on his way to something really special when he got hurt, and I think they're gonna capitalize on that on SmackDown. I'm not sure about the whole Dave vs. Goliath thing with Bryan, but maybe it'll lead somewhere beneficial for both guys. Who knows? Gallows Anderson was almost an afterthought. They were mentioned. I think it was on SmackDown later in the night that they were just, oh yeah, by the way, they're here. But it was just kind of like, okay, whatever. I think if they pair even if it's not a full-time pairing with AJ, as long as they hook them up here and there, it'll be cool for them. It'll be cool to see Luke and Carl kind of do their thing with AJ, and then also to see them get a tag team run. Usos, New Day, and The Bar all on the same brand, along with Gallows Anderson. SmackDown's got the tag team hot hand, it looks like to me.
I agree on that, Jeff. They definitely got some momentum with the tag team division. We'll see if those teams can be rebuilt, especially Anderson and Gallows. I think the Bar will rebound when they get in there with the Usos. We're going to see the Bar back to their glory days. I have no doubt about that. Big Cass, interesting. I think he should have had a different look. I think he should not look like the old Big Cass. And I think he had new music. I'm still not sure on that. I've had people saying, You're saying it's the same music.
It was the same, as far as I remember. I mean, it sounded the exact same to me.
I never even bothered to check, which shows how little I care about it. But
I'm sure people in the comments will know.
It seemed like it was a little bit catchier, which isn't saying much. It did feel like it was a slightly better song. He'd rather have new entrance music, new look, but whatever, it is what it is. I do like your idea, TJS, where Brian has to go through Cass first to get to The Miz and save that for a big show like SummerSlam. I do like that idea. But yeah, more great picks for SmackDown, and I think SmackDown definitely won it. Virtue, any final thoughts on this?
I mean, I like The Bar, but I also like Cesaro, and they will never give this guy the respect he deserves with a singles career. Maybe they'll end up. I mean, didn't him and Sheamus have a feud that put him together ultimately as The Bar? Yeah. So I wouldn't want to see them break up just a feud again. Put him against the Usos. We'll get some great matches, I guess. As for Cass, TJS, boom. I like that. Make people want The Miz and Bryan. Don't give it to them. Make them wait and wait and wait. That's great. And Big Cass is perfect for that. Heck, Big Cass could even go over Bryan in a match because Miz could help him before Bryan ultimately beats him. So many possibilities there. And the club, I kind of don't think they fit with Balor anymore because the new direction of Balor Club, if everybody gets my drift, has nothing to do with the guys. Right, exactly. So again, and I understand what WWE's doing with that, and I support it, and I hope it takes off. I really do. So it makes sense that the club, this version of the club, is now on SmackDown, and maybe there'll be something with AJ. All right, so I'm looking at the rest of my list here. Absolution, okay. Will they use Paige's music? Who knows? R-Truth, Here's some interesting ones right here. Some NXT call-ups. Almas with Zelina Vega, and Sanity talking about tag team. How are they going to do but no Nikki Cross. So, TJS, I will start with you. Thoughts on I always get his name wrong. Help me out with Almas.
Andrade Cien.
Yeah,
although I can't.
I just call him Almas.
Yeah, I can't roll the R on Andrade, so sorry about that, Andrade.
And I do like Zelina Vega. And last time I knew, she's Austin Aries' girlfriend.
I think they got married, but yeah, they've been together for a while.
Lucky man. All right, so TJS, thoughts?
So I think it's pretty interesting that they're bringing up Zelina Vega with Almas, but they took L-Ring away from AOP. I think that's interesting because AOP had a longer run.
Cross with Sanity.
Yeah, that's something else that's interesting. I'm not sure why they did this because AOP and Paul Ellering, they've been together since the first time they won the Dusty Classic, even before that. So for like 2 years. Not sure why they did that. Almas and Vega have been together for a little bit, but not as long. And I'm not sure about it. I think it's good that Almas is on SmackDown, although I'm still not sure why he was not getting his NXT title match, his rematch. I guess we are just forgetting about the rematch calls in WWE now. I don't get it. Sanity, I think Killian Dane needs to break away from him because this guy is a standout star. I know you guys might not watch the weekly NXT shows, but he had a great match with Lars Sullivan, no disqualification match this week. Very good stuff. Killian Dane was the VIP or the MVP of the War Games match, as far as I'm concerned. This guy, he's a big man. He does tope suicidas. He does Vader bombs. This guy, and I've seen him do the Samoan drop with 2 people. You know, he has one on his chest, one on his shoulders. Awesome. This guy could be world champion. I haven't really heard much of his promos. Maybe we'll get the chance to hear it. I don't know. But like I said, I think he needs to break away. And you can have Eric Young and Alexander Wolf being on their own. Not sure why Nikki Cross isn't coming up, other than the fact they need more heel women in NXT. But some good call-ups, I think. I'm glad that we got him because the SmackDown After Mania only had 1. Aaron, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Killian Dane has a lot of potential. How tall is he, by the way? Does anybody know? What's his height?
He's like 6'8", 6'9".
Yeah, I mean, do you think
he's huge?
Do you think he has like a Vader vibe? Like he could be that type of star? Do you think he has that potential?
I think so.
I do.
I mean, any big dude that can move, do things he does these days, I'd be big time. I mean, think about it. Vader was revolutionary for what he could do for being such a big guy. But, I mean, today's wrestling, it's changed. Everybody likes the Garganos and the AJ Styles. So when you're a big guy that has a pretty big repertoire and not like a Baron Corbin repertoire, I'm sorry, but the ceiling might be more breakable. That glass ceiling might be more breakable. So yeah. Back to you, Aaron.
And let's not forget, we haven't really talked about the tag team champions, the Bludgeon Brothers. So we could possibly see Sanity versus the Bludgeon Brothers at some point. It'll be interesting to see if Sanity comes in as faces or heels. I'm really curious to see. I don't think there's any clear direction yet. They just did the little vignette for those guys to hype up their debut. Who were the other guys we were talking about?
Almas and Zelina Vega.
Almas. I'm really interested to see what happens with him. I think that he definitely has the potential to succeed, especially when WWE's trying to build up a new Latino superstar. He can definitely fit that bill. So time will tell with him. I'm not sure where you put him, though. That I'm not sure. I could see him potentially maybe feuding with Jeff Hardy at some point for the United States title. But I think right now it's going to be Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton. So maybe Almas just wins some squash matches for a while and they just build him up that way. Jeff, what do you think should be done with Almas? Where do you see him fitting in at this point?
It's funny because I would not have expected him to be a call-up. I think, like Tyler said, I guess we'll forget the fact that he gets a rematch for the title because he lost the title at TakeOver. I would love to see him, since he's going to be on SmackDown, which is awesome. Again, SmackDown got a huge pick here, especially with Selena, because I think if they let Selena turn her loose and actually let her wrestle, she's one of the best wrestlers of the last 10 years when she's able to wrestle. She is that good, believe it or not.
She's great on the mic too.
She's great on the mic, and she sells Almas like gangbusters. And Almas is good, but she makes him great.
Yeah,
she really does. And I think if they put him into a upper mid card feud, with really anybody, personally, why not do a surprise 1-on-1 match, him and AJ? Because I think him and AJ would be good as far as okay, let's see if he can go with the champion. Make that be his testing, so to speak. And then if he has a good showing with AJ, then they move from there.
There you go.
Now, Jeff, there's 3 people in Sanity since Nikki Cross didn't come over with them.
Right.
What else? What group on SmackDown are there 3 of?
The New Day.
There's your opening feud, Aaron.
There you go.
Again, if I was writing, but any thoughts on that, or what else they should do with Sanity?
Oh, goodness. It's one of those things. I was just saying in the chat, I believe it was with one of you guys last week, that I don't think that Sanity is a good fit for the main roster. They're a good NXT group, but again, so was the Vaudevillains. I'm like, how well they did when they got called up. Aiden English is doing good now, but he wasn't for a long time. And Simon, of course, had his issues and he got fired. So it's for whatever, again, we don't know the whole story. Whatever. I hope it works for EY's sake, because EY deserves a good, decent run with WWE, but I have my doubts of them as a unit together. Now, Killian Dane, that guy impresses the living crap out of me. That guy, he very much has that Vader vibe where he can do things a big man should not even remotely be able to do. The only thing that's really going to get lost, I think, is Alexander Wolf. He's a big guy, but he's not like, oh my God, he's so big and he can do this crazy things. He's not that kind of superstar.
Right.
So I think if anybody's going to get lost, it'll be Wolf.
All right. And in terms of who they all go against, like, there's my thoughts. Sanity versus New Day to start out. Again, we'll see, Jeff, if you're right, and the dynamic of Sanity works on the main roster with that writing. As for Almas, I could see him feuding. I mean, let's say Jeff Hardy keeps the U.S. title and it doesn't go back to Jinder. I mean, in a scenario where Jinder wins the U.S. title, Samoa Joe wins the Intercontinental title, and they switch brands, just say for the titles stay where they're at, I could see Almas feuding with Jeff Hardy in a great feud. We'll see what happens. All right, one last person on SmackDown, which was pretty inevitable. Go around the horn. TJS, I'll start with you. Asuka. And the fact that now her and Charlotte are BFFs.
I don't get it.
And Becky.
I don't understand it. Why would you move Asuka to the same brand as the person that she just lost her streak to? And then why would you have Asuka want to team up with her?
Respect.
Why wouldn't you have Asuka come out there and just annihilate Charlotte? Just beat the living crap out of her. And then maybe you could have had the cash in from Carmella after that instead of the Iconics. Have Asuka come out there, act like she's going to shake Charlotte's hand, put her in the armbar, beat her down. I don't get it. Even after the match with Charlotte at WrestleMania, she said, "Congratulations, Charlotte. You are ready for Asuka." Asuka just gave up everything that she had when she lost that streak. Where do you go with it from here? I don't know. I really don't. You're just going to team her up with the lady that she lost to? I don't get it. Doesn't make any sense to me. I'm tired of women's tag team matches. They mean nothing. They're throwaways. They're not going anywhere with them. I don't get it. Jeff, what do you think? What's Asuka going to do on SmackDown?
I am very, very worried at this point because much like my favorite guy, Billy Boy, the career lives and breathes with the streak.
Yeah.
She is very, very, she's probably the most talented person NXT has signed since its rebranding as a actual brand, not as a competition show. Having said that, I think this streak will ultimately hurt her by being lost, much like it did Goldberg. They built it, and and then rather than, oh my God, the big moment she wins the championship, they gave us the once again the New Orleans streak screw job, if you will, the big shakeup. Oh my God, the streak's over. What do? They have to have her be a champion in order for her to be truly successful. Excuse me. A lot of people need the title. The title doesn't need them. She needs the title.
Agreed on that.
Good point. Aaron, anything to add to that?
Sorry. Well, what happens if Asuka is booked for a match with Carmella for the title, and then something happens and Asuka is accused of committing a crime, and Charlotte offers to take her place? It's Charlotte versus Carmella, and then finger poke of doom, Charlotte wins back the title, and her and Carmella are friends. How about that?
Oh my God.
No, seriously though.
Don't give Road Dogg any ideas.
Seriously,
hey, tell everybody that finger poke of doom with Kevin Nash was pre-Vince Russo and WCW.
Yes, it was.
All right.
That was completely Bischoff's gimmick. Don't worry about it. We know.
What I actually think is going to happen is, unfortunately for you, TJS, there's going to be some tag matches because the Iconics, I think their best strength right now is as a tag team. As we saw on SmackDown, was it Billie Kay that already lost to Charlotte in a singles match? So their strength is as a team. I think it's going to be Asuka and Charlotte versus the Iconics for the next month or two, and then we're going to see the split, and it's going to be Charlotte and Asuka at SummerSlam, the rematch, and Asuka will probably win the rematch. They'll have a third match, maybe Survivor Series or Royal Rumble. Charlotte will win the third match, and then it'll be Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania. That's my future prediction for all that. Virtue.
Oh, Aaron. So you bring up the Iconics. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody. Peyton Royce was trained by Lance Storm, I believe.
Sounds accurate.
Peyton Royce, yeah, I believe she was. I don't know about Billie Kay. These girls scream NXT. If there was ever a time to re-sign Emma, and because she's Australian too, this group needs some credibility from a wrestling standpoint. Sorry, Iconics, you're beautiful, but so with this Asuka and Charlotte team, I remember when I was at WrestleMania, I swear for a split second, Asuka said "shut it" instead of Charlotte, and I was like, and that match happened before the Nakamura turn on AJ. I'm like, yes, they're turning your heel. And then I was like, what did she just say? And people were like, Charlotte. And I was like, oh, no. She needs to turn heel like Nakamura did. These ladies, these Japanese that can't really speak English well, doing the Nakamura gimmick with, speak no English, that is fantastic. That's the best thing I've seen written on SmackDown for a long time. And I'd like to see them do that. Maybe Asuka and Nakamura are heels, like kind of just associated because they're Japanese, not that they're a group. That would be fantastic. So that's what I think they should do with Asuka, not making her BFFs with Charlotte. With that said, is everybody in agreement that SmackDown won the shakeup?
Oh, hands down. Hands down.
I knew we don't even need to go around, and everybody pretty much it's given. All right, we're doing the main event. Jeff, I know you said you had something. We can talk about that and when we do a closing of the show, but this bothers the hell out of me. And I think what I'm bringing up.
No, Virtue, I already did that, showing the Bruno picture. I already did that.
Oh, yeah.
You're good.
This is the main event. I wasn't going to talk about, Roman and Brock. Everybody, this thing I'm talking about right now bothers me where I have to push Roman till next week's show.
Huh.
The casket match change at the Greatest Royal Rumble. So we all know Rusev said some things, TMZ, tweet, everybody knows what it was. And then somebody in the office supposedly got pissed off, and Jericho was they actually changed the card. They changed the card to Chris Jericho. Now, you have a lot of Jericho fans out there that, nothing against Rusev Day, Aaron, but, everybody's like, oh, it's definite burial for Rusev. When Jericho got put into it, you didn't expect any different result for a casket match other than Taker winning, but you knew with it being Chris Jericho, he was going to promote the hell out of it on Twitter the right way. He came off of Omega Jericho, great overseas heel. As he got kicked out of Brazil. I think he pie-faced the lady in Victoria, British Columbia.
Yep.
He flipped a table in Japan in the Omega press conference. It hit some photographers. I don't know, maybe they were workers. Jericho is so great as a heel overseas. They gave it to me for 24 to 48 hours. And now it's back to Rusev. What's everybody's thoughts of WWE? If there was a problem with Rusev, why did they even change the match? They should have left it like it is. Handle business behind closed doors. Make sure Mark was okay with Rusev instead of changing it and then going back. This drives me nuts because I did a whole video on Jericho and Taker. Now it's gone. They took it from me. WWE is trolling me with The Undertaker. They didn't even give me a full match at WrestleMania with Cena. Tyler, I'm going to start with you. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't know. It has me scratching my head as well. We all know that Undertaker's not going to lose his own match. So, and it's like you said, Jericho is such a great overseas heel. I think of his New Japan work when he put the Walls of Jericho on Red Shoe's son. He called one of the fans an F-face. Just a great heel. But the question is Jericho really going to get booed? I know it's in Saudi Arabia, and maybe they're not very familiar with the New Japan work, but I think everyone's dying to see Jericho after he had that big match with Omega. We saw him on Raw 25 in a backstage segment, and he got such a big pop, and I think when he left, when he got written off, he was leaving as a babyface, so I think bringing him back as a heel wouldn't make much sense.
Right.
Then again, you have Rusev, who should be a babyface, but for some reason, they're insulting the towns that they're in, which just doesn't make any sense.
It's like the opposite of Roman Reigns. Roman should be a heel, and they push him as a face. Rusev should be a baby face. They push him as a heel.
Exactly. It just doesn't make sense. It's like WWE has to say, hey, this guy's a heel. You're supposed to boo him.
Yep.
That's what it feels like they're sticking that in our face, like, boo this man. Like, I don't get it. As far as the changing goes, I heard about the TMZ thing. I read something on NoDQ.com about it was just a Vince thing. Vince changed his mind and then changed it again.
Right.
Maybe this is an all-in storyline. Maybe Rusev.
They got me. Then they got me.
Yeah.
They got me, TJS. They got me.
Maybe Rusev is going to be the next Daniel Bryan. I know that's a long shot, but you heard the Rusev Day chants when Shane McMahon was cutting a promo once. He said "duly noted" very sarcastically. They edited out the Rusev Day chants of a YouTube video from last week, and you have Rusev in literally a casket match. So he could be literally getting buried. So maybe you have the fans wanting to resist, wanting to chant for Rusev Day, and WWE is purposely holding him back. Maybe they're saving him for a big championship match like he was supposed to get at Money in the Bank last year. Who knows? Aaron, what do you think?
That would be hilarious if WWE was actually purposely booking Rusev like this as a way to get the fans even more behind him. But the thing is, at some point, it's going to die off. Look at Zack Ryder. Eventually, Zack Ryder just completely cooled off, and I feel like the same thing is going to happen to Rusev unless something changes and changes soon. I would have liked Jericho versus Rusev because it was a legend versus legend. And Jeff, you might know more about this than me. I don't think they've had that many singles matches against each other, and I think I read somewhere that they've never had a singles pay-per-view match. Do you know if that's accurate or not?
That is 100% accurate. You remember the second week Jericho was in the company, he kept that promo against the Unholy Alliance, Undertaker and Big Show, and Taker immediately put him in his place.
Yeah.
They've kind of interacted since then here and there. Matter of fact, Jericho pinned Undertaker for the World Championship in the Chamber.
Right.
Yep, and he did have a match against the Undertaker at a SmackDown, but Edge, that was leading into that WrestleMania, Edge interfered.
Right.
So,
right.
Or no, it was leading into that Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, I had this very distinct memory of him arguing with an old man at ringside after the Undertaker match. I remember that. It was so funny. It's actually on Jericho's DVD. So there you go. I would love to see Jericho in the casket match. It would have been a great legend versus icon, whatever you want to call it. I think they're trolling us on purpose. I said that a week ago. I said it. They are messing with us to get this kind of reaction that we're all having right now. To have Virtue go, "I got me," to have Aaron, report every single thing on NoDQ.com and have so many blow-ups on the thing that he gets hits for days. And they don't want you to get hits for days, but that's what's happening. And they want us to talk about it. That's what they're doing. They're doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
If there was ever a creative position open in WWE about trolling, you'd be on the creative team, but you wouldn't write the shows, but you would troll the internet on behalf of WWE. I would so take that. I would apply for that job in a beat, and in a split second, and I think I would be great at it. But anyway,
Hunter's been doing it for 10 years. What's the difference?
Well, no, I know what you mean, but to me, this was if that's what they did, Jeff, it was well orchestrated.
Oh yeah.
Now, granted, I know with 50 men in the Rumble match there, and we'll talk about this next week. I know Jericho is going to be in that match, and could somebody break? Who's the record holder right now? Rey Mysterio for the longest in a Royal Rumble match, 62 minutes. Whoever it is,
yep, officially.
Whoever it is, I think technically someone could break it. Are they going to do it at this house show pay-per-view? Probably.
Well, you know what? They're not calling it the actual Royal Rumble chronology because they had the 40-man Rumble that was actually a Royal Rumble. This is the greatest Royal Rumble. It's out of the chronologically speaking of the Rumble.
And I heard they might have a trophy for the winner. To me, the winner should go to SummerSlam. But anyway.
They have a trophy designed for it, ready to go. Yep.
All right, so that's it. Let's go around the horn. Anybody have anything else left to say? Topic you want to bring up, or do your plugs? I'll start with you, TJS.
Well, I'm curious what you guys think about Daniel Bryan's run so far. His second run. I know it's been short so far, but to me, I think that he's looking better than he ever has. Before, ever since he's came back from this injury, he's channeling more of his technical skills, it seems like. I noticed that he's doing the surfboard a lot more. He's working the arms a lot more. He's really doing the limb psychology thing a lot more than what he was. And I think that he's doing great, and I'm really intrigued that he's been wrestling on TV lately, because I expected him to be, doing somewhat of a part-time schedule until WWE fully trusts him. But it seems like they've thrown him right in the mix again, and he actually did a diving headbutt. It was either this week or last week, so I think it's really, really interesting. What do you guys think about his run so far? I'll start with you, Jeff.
Aaron can vouch for me on this. We saw Brian in his early days of wrestling, at least out here anyway, and he was flat out intense. Every match he was boom, 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 hitting everything. Then he got hurt. He tore the orbital socket in his eye in the match at Ring of Honor, and then he came back and he kind of slowed down a little bit. Then he came to WWE, and he's been forced to keep his style chill and grounded. But you got to remember, he's been off over 2 years, almost 3 years if you count after the WrestleMania 2015. He has been in the gym. He has been training at home. He's been doing the American Dragon training. He has not been training as Daniel Bryan. He's been doing Bryan Danielson training at home and at the gym. He is in probably the best, other than the weight, because he gained weight, but he's probably in the best in-ring shape he's been in many, probably since he joined WWE.
He hasn't been tanning, though.
He has not been tanning. No, he's got the Sheamus look going, unfortunately. But he's probably in the best shape he's been probably since 2010, 2011.
Yeah, he's looking good so far, but I still think it's too early to tell. I still think the jury is out with Daniel Bryan. But yeah, I mean, I think it's smart for him to tone it down a little bit. And, look at Shawn Michaels. When Shawn Michaels came back, he toned down his style, and some would say his second run was better than his first. So
I would.
And who trained Daniel Bryan?
Exactly.
Shawn Michaels. There you go. Right. That's the point.
Yeah, so if it works out for Daniel Bryan, I think his second run could definitely be better than his first, and we'll see if his body can hold up, and we'll see how long he can handle the schedule. It is very interesting that he is back to essentially working every single week now. We'll see how long it lasts. Hopefully it does. For his sake and for the fans' sake, I hope it works out for him. Virtue, any final thoughts?
No, that's pretty much it. Daniel Bryan, that's what he wants to do is wrestle. I thought maybe he'd take it a lot slower and we just have some big matches, but he is right in the thick of things, probably going to be wrestling on every single SmackDown. So
God bless
I'm indifferent that it's not, like, to me, it's not too much, because that's what how can you deny somebody wanting to do that? That's what he wants to do. He wants to work. So I'm not going to bash him for wanting to work. So that's all I got. TJS, where can people follow you at and all that good stuff?
Well, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at NoDQ_TJS. You can find me on Facebook at Tyler Joseph Smith. youtube.com/Tyler Joseph Smith. I do some WWE 2K18 videos occasionally. Haven't been uploading much, but you can still subscribe to me because why not? And, of course, you see Virtue wearing the NoDQ.com t-shirt, ProWrestlingTees.com. You see the beanie that Aaron, Virtue, and I are wearing. Aaron has some more of those in production. You can go ahead and email him at NoDQ@gmail.com. Jeff is wearing a NoDQ baseball cap. Those could be coming soon. If you guys are interested in those, go ahead and let Aaron know. And that's all the plugs for me. Jeff, go ahead, get the plugs out.
I'm good. No. Underscore Jeff Meacham.
Jeff has always got something to plug.
I always do. Underscore Jeff Meacham on Twitter and Instagram, and hopefully, if illness does not bar me like it did last week, Talk Wrestling will be on the youtube.com/Jeff Meacham channel. Hopefully. But I know people are ragging on me for flaking once again, but when you have no voice, you can't do a talk show. As simple as that. So tune in for that. Of course, tune in here each and every week for the No DQ review and Aaron's live shows Monday and Tuesday after Raw and SmackDown. And you never know, you might hear Jeff Meacham's voice on those shows. So tune in and find out.
Be there, be square.
Definitely
Mr. Rift.
Those shows.
Well, they already did my plugs, basically, so I'll go ahead and plug your stuff, Virtue. Follow Virtue at NoDQ_Virtue, and every Tuesday night he does a video with Big Jeffrey. Check that out, and he's over on Andre's site, what is it? Wrestling with Virtue?
Wrestling with Wrestling. Yeah, I write a little bit over there for him just so I can keep writing. I like doing videos for you guys. The No DQ Galaxy loves videos. I get way more response. That's why I stopped writing. Yep. However, if enough people say we want Virtue's Rage written again, you know I will.
Absolutely. But yeah, that's all I got. So Virtue, now you got plugs.
Well, like Aaron said, follow me on Twitter at NoDQ_Virtue. So for Aaron Rift, for Jeff Meacham, for TJS, and for Hollywood Hogan, brother, this is a No DQ review, and we'll see you next week.